Okay, cool. Hello, everyone out there in Facebook land and YouTube land and wherever you are in the world. And thank you, Shelli, for joining in last minute. My guest, I don't know what happened to her. My scheduled guest, she just didn't respond. And I was out of town, so I was like just checking in yesterday and never heard anything. So these things happen.
We are.
So how does it get better than this? And, it's funny with this topic that I chose for today, communicating with entities is not just for mediums. I used it quite a bit during my travels. And so, that can be maybe a starting point, or if you have a starting point of like, it's so funny because people put communicating with entities or spirits into this like weird, strange woo-woo, or like,
yes,
only certain people have the gift, but like really everybody has the ability.
Yes. And I really want to speak to people that do have, that are conscious and aware they have the gift. And because where I was before I took the intro with you, I was like, oh, I already do that. Like, I don't I don't need that class. And then I just kept getting this awareness to take it. And what was that, a couple weeks ago?
Yeah,
Things are just so different. And the number one thing, and I think I mentioned it to you, is like, I went to this new level of relaxation that I've never had before. I just like, and I can't explain the why, but it was the opening up, the receiving, the kind of clearing all the things that we cleared. And so I really would invite people that say, I do have this connection. It can be greater. It can be so much greater and so much more ease.
That's so true. And it's funny, like I took her classes, Shannon, the creator of Talk to the Entities. I took her classes back when she was, a teenager and just starting to do it. And I was like, oh yeah, I've already got that information. But then she came out with a couple other things over the years. And I was like, oh, and every single one that I chose brought me to like this greater pool of awareness. And the greater pool includes just so much more of you and your being.
Yes. And for me, life is getting easier and easier. And I know that I've just put my little foot in there. You know what I mean? I know.
Your toe.
Yeah, my little foot, my little toe. Yes.
Yeah, don't dive in because that would be too much. Yeah. Actually, it's okay to take it however quickly or slowly as you want. Yeah. There's no right, there's no wrong. And, nobody wants to do anything that they're told to do. So exactly. I usually tell people, don't do it because your life will get too easy. Don't do it. You'll be too happy. Don't do it.
You hear those things and they kind of like go in your after I've experienced it, I can say that is definitely true. Definitely true. Even the entities, energies that I was communing with prior to the class, it's greater. It's just greater. It's clearer, it's greater, it's easier, it's more comfortable. It's more of an awareness, like that energy of how does it get any better? What else is possible? It's that. It's like whoosh.
Just from the intro?
Just from the intro.
How is that possible?
Just from the intro.
That's crazy.
Yes. And that actually, I was aware prior to the class that there were some entities, energies in my sister's house. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, well, that's her house. She'll deal with it. Mm-hmm. This past weekend, my nephew, who is 9, he was the energy that asked me to come to the house 3 times in a row. And every time I was there, it was like, can you help me, please? In the house. And for 3 days, I'm like, okay, this is cool. What would it take to get paid? But it was just interesting because I had been aware of it before, but after the intro, I could feel his body and being saying, I need a little help with this. And it was just a different type of communion.
Yeah.
Him and with the house and with everything going on in the house.
Yeah. And that's the thing about expanding your awareness and including everything is when you do that, like, it's not anything of what you could have expected, because your limited mind was here and then you open to this and you have no idea what that means.
I have another,
but it's just more.
Yeah, I have another short story.
Yeah.
So I was in the shower the other day, and I have ownership in a horse that I've never touched in person. I've only seen pictures. The horse is in Kentucky. And I was in the shower, and literally the horse was like, can you contribute to me? And I was like, what do I do? Do I call the farm? I didn't know what to do. So I did some contribution. I asked some friends to do some contribution, and I just did it, went on with my day. 3 days later, I get an email. He was having surgery at that time, and I didn't even know.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
It was almost like he was like, who's going to hear me?
Yeah. And that's how it is. Like, we just communicate telepathically. We always have. We just don't listen to those soft whispers.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was just visiting with my mom, my sister, and my daughter at my mom's summer home. And with all of us together, there's like this nonstop chatter. I mean, I'm usually just sitting there listening, but like there's this nonstop chatter. And I kept asking, like, what would it take to be able to hear that soft whisper, regardless of how noisy it is around me?
It's a great question.
Yeah, it's a practice, man. That's muscle building, because when there's all that going on, you just want to go, especially I can't take it.
My family, we literally all talk at once. We're having like 10 different conversations, and we're all like boom, 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 boom. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And does anybody hear anything, or are they just trying to say what they want to say? Exactly. That's my curiosity. It's crazy. And then it's like, wow, what would allowance look like? And just connect to their heart and be grateful.
Yes. And then what would you say to people who are in fear of entities in the spirit world?
Well, we all know, if you've done any access, that fear is either a distractor implant, it's not yours, or it's excitement in disguise. So it's probably that you have an ability. And stepping into that, you have no idea what it looks like. You might think that's scary, but it's actually exciting, because you open up to greater possibilities. Without that, you're just staying where you are in the less possibilities space. So it's actually choosing limitation, which is not wrong. A lot of us stay there for a long time. A long time. And that's cool. But like, when you're ready, what if you knew that you'd never be hurt? What if you knew that it would be totally empowering? What if you knew that it was way easier than you could ever imagine? And that it could actually work for you?
Yes. And I had another question. I've heard 3 different people say that their financial reality improved greatly. And I can perceive that based on having taken the intro that I'm more receptive, more receiving, more open. But what would you say based on what you know to that?
Well, yeah, it's whenever you put your barriers down to something or many things, you're opening up more. So, if you just think about it with a dam, of water that's restrictive, and when you let the floods come through, all kinds of things come in. And usually people erect those walls and barriers because they don't want this and they don't want that, but they only want this one little thing. That's not how receiving works. Receiving includes everything. And when you have the tools, it's like you can allow all of life to come to you with ease and joy and glory, not just the two little or three little things that you think you want, because that'll make your life better. If you allow all of life, then it's like you've got millions of possibilities. And you don't get stuck by the heavy stuff. You just let it wash by. Yeah.
So when
That
is your
takes
next
a level of
when
out
is
of
your
control.
next class?
When is my next class? I think is it September?
The
Oh
end
my
of
goodness, I
September.
can't remember.
See if I have it written down.
Or is it the end? Oh, I think it's at the end of August.
Yes.
Yes, it's online. And this, I love doing it in this way. Instead of 2 full days, it's 4 short sections. So there's more space for you to digest the information and, practice the tools, and then it's all recorded, and there's exercises that I cut and have separate recordings so you can listen to those on a loop at night. It's just easy.
Cool. Can't wait.
That gardener's outside. Can you hear that? No, good. It's really annoying to me, but
So is there
Yeah.
anything I'm kind of looking at before you became the talk to the entities practitioner and now? Is there anything in your life that changed? I'm going to use the word dramatically or in a big way, or like kind of
yes.
just one thing. I'm just kidding.
Well, it's funny. And I might have had this on one of my Talk to the Entities video playlists on YouTube. But a couple years ago, so it was like 2020 when everything was shut down, I first got the ping to certify for this specialty. And there were a few other classes that I needed to take to fulfill the certification, but I had done the advanced and I wanted to do the beings of light. So I did all of those, but there were all these other like pre-done classes that I hadn't finalized. And I decided, well, I only have a week. It's like too much money. Forget it. I'm not going to do it. And from that moment, everything in my life started going downhill. And I was about a month later, I'm like, what happened? Like all my classes were growing and it was opening up, and then all of a sudden it was going down, 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 down. I was like, what the heck? And I kept asking, like, what did I choose? How did I create this? And I realized that I had decided that because my store was closed, I didn't have enough money to do the certification. And then I had another experience with communicating with somebody's father who had passed away and shared whatever the message was with the person, and realized like, oh my God, it's so easy. It's so easy. And the entity paid me. And I'm like, what am I not doing this for? And what am I not sharing this information for? So I texted Shannon. I'm like, I've been an idiot. I'm sorry. I'm choosing it now. And so I just, yeah. And like everything is different. Yeah.
Cool.
And everything's different every day. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
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 Oh, somebody wrote a comment, pock and pod all the lifetimes when it got you killed or locked up for it. For the ones that look scary, remember you're being more potent by being willing to take on a new body. You know, it's interesting. Shannon talks about this in some of the classes. I can't remember if it's the beginning or
We talked a little bit about that in the intro.
yeah. So like, you're not killed for it anymore. You're actually highly revered. So yeah, you're right. It was the intro. Yeah. So, and for all the people that don't think that they have entity awareness and are afraid, what if those like the hair raising and the feeling creepy, what if that is some of your entity awareness signs? And rather than put walls up to it and hide from it and be small and at the effect of it, what if you actually turn toward it with the tools?
Yeah, and it is being educated about it.
Yeah.
You know, I never had, the only education I received was, you're crazy, it's bad, it's wrong, it's evil. But I never had any education about what it actually is, the truth of what it is, and how to receive it and utilize it to create greater.
Yeah. Yeah. So like when I was in Paris for the training this year, I woke up in the middle of the night just coughing. I woke up coughing. So my body was coughing. And I knew from being in the Talk to the Entities class, you know, usually for me, coughing is an entity awareness sign. So I just immediately started clearing, and then it went away and I went back to sleep. Instead of thinking, oh, am I getting sick or what am I choking on? Like, you know, you can create all kinds of issues and problems if you don't ask a question.
Right.
What is this? Is this an entity? Yes. No. Yes. Oh, okay. Does it want to be cleared? Yes. Okay. Done. So easy. And same thing with travel. Like when there's a holdup in the boarding process or in the takeoff process or in anything, you know, in the airplane, airport, security line, there's usually entity stuff. And I just ask, like, what would it take to be the clearing? So I don't have to sit there and think it or say it. But you walk through the airport and you're changing things.
Good to know.
Yeah. And like, I forget. And sometimes it's like, all right, we're waiting. It's been 45 minutes past boarding time. What the fuck is going on? And then I go, oh, right. Any entities, any demons, you know, and just run all the clearings. And all of a sudden they go, okay, you know, the technical issue is gone. We can start boarding now. It's like, shit, why didn't I think of that sooner?
Yeah. I've noticed a lot of entities kind of touching my face, you know, while I'm sitting around. And in the past, I'd have been like, you know, irritated.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, hi, what do you require? And, you know, it's just space, and it's not them it's just like a one time and like, okay, hello, hi, I'm acknowledging you and going on from there. So it's, for me, it's a different world now. Yeah.
And like it keeps getting bigger and bigger. Like at first you think it's people who died and those are entities, but everything's an entity. You're an entity. I'm an entity. The phone is an entity. And you know, when I leave it somewhere, the phone's like, hello, you forgot me. I'm like, oh, you know, trees are
that happens with my ring. If I don't put it on and I'm buzzing around the house, I'll hear it like, hello, I'm supposed to be with you.
Yeah. So it's not just, you know, spooks and goblins. It's all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And you know, there's all kinds of nature spirits and water spirits.
And, you know, I was telling you how when I was younger, I used to be more visual. Well, that's coming back. I was on a Zoom that I had seen before was a recording, and I'm watching again. And all of a sudden, I see all these new things in the background of the Zoom and in the lights and in the this. And I'm like, oh, I was like, I didn't see that before. Or in, it'll rain and I'll see different things in the rain and the clouds. And I'm like, okay. And it's really fun. It's fun for me. So if anyone out there is afraid, that can change.
Oh my God. Totally. Totally, totally, totally. Yeah. It's so funny. It's like the thing that you're like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with this. As soon as you lower the walls and barriers, and see, part of it too, going through the class is I'm there with you, and I'm being this space and energy of empowering you to know that you know, and giving you the tools so that you can handle it. So you're like, oh, cool. Like, I'm not doing this by myself. We're doing this all together.
Mhm.
And we're turning towards the entities together. It's a very empowering
Yes.
experience energetically. And then you can do it on your own.
Mhm.
So it's not scary at all. But don't take our word for it.
Well,
I wonder if anybody has gone through even just the beginning class and come out still scared. I wonder. I doubt it.
I doubt it.
I doubt it. I mean, it's
Like I
amazing
said,
how
for
quickly
me,
you can get
it
over that.
just relaxed, a lot of what felt like anxiousness and whatever that was is just gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just the beginning. When we talk about oneness and inclusion of all and all beings, like that includes entities. So, you can't just have oneness, and it's sort of like having two-ness. People are like, I want to have a communion with somebody.
Right.
No, that's a relationship. But communion, oneness includes everything and judges nothing, including spirits of all kinds. Yeah.
And it's like, I just never, I was playing with the energy of communion for a long time, asking questions and, energy, space, and consciousness, but it just didn't register. Does that make sense? It's like, I would think of it the way you just said, in a relationship or with your family.
Yeah.
Or with the earth, kind of like, oh, communion with the earth. But I really get it now that it's with absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And your life gets easier. I just say this to my clients all the time. Your life will get easier.
Yeah.
You stop separating.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you said, it's a muscle.
You trust
you just
yourself.
don't decide it and then it happens, because I don't know if that's energetically, that's not our comfort zone. So you just start building that muscle, and then it's like, oh, this is different. This is nice. This is more relaxing. That's how it is for me.
Yeah. There was a time when I was in Costa Rica for a 7-day, long time ago. And they had a river on the property. And I remember lying in like this pooled section of the river and just having my hands across the top and floating. And I was explaining this to Gary at the 7-day. I was like, there was just this space and this relaxation, this peace, and like expansion in all directions. And he's like, yeah, that's oneness. And I was like, wow. But you think about all the things that you're aware of in the water. There could have been, eels and creepy things and shit like that, but they weren't near me.
Yeah.
But there was this awareness of them, and the birds in the sky and the trees and the snakes and the everything. But there's no contraction. It's this spacious thing, and where to be, that you're safe, or you would move.
Yeah, I was going to say, when to move if that's required.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And, what would it take to be that for longer than, 5, 10, 15 minutes at a time. And that's what we're practicing. That's what we're working on with all of these tools, expanding our awareness, lowering our barriers.
When I first started receiving that, I remember I was walking, I live in Las Vegas. I was walking in it was like a busy weekend with a lot of people in town. And I was outside walking, there's all these crowds, and I had an awareness, and it was literally pedophile. And I was like, and I whipped around, and it's this crowd of people. And then I was like, there's nothing for you to do.
Yeah.
It's just an awareness. Keep going. But it was the strangest thing at the same time.
Yeah.
When you start becoming aware of everything.
Yeah.
And learning not to judge it, you can ask, I guess, is there something? Because I think I did ask, is there something required of me? I was like, no.
Right.
And that can be interesting.
Yep. It's like somebody else's baby crying, what is this? What do I do with it? Anything? No. Okay.
Yeah.
Hashtag not my problem to deal with this time around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
awareness is not a burden. We make it a burden. We think we have to handle and put it all into the little,
judge it.
Yeah. Little blocks of, this is what I have to do with this. And it's just like, no, this is space. And you can kind of weave your way through to where you want to go.
The biggest space for me is with my kids, because I can be so aware of my kids. And then just last night, there was something on the tip of my tongue to say to my daughter. And I stopped myself and I was like, is this going to create greater? And it was a big fat no.
Yeah.
Where in the past, I would have thought or felt I have to say everything and I have to make sure she knows. And I was like, you don't. Not even with your kids.
Yeah. And somebody just wrote a comment here about her foster daughter. And, the thing is, one of the taglines of Talk to the Entities is don't be scared, be scary.
Yes.
So
that makes me laugh every time.
Fear afraid of you. Don't be scared, be scary. And it is scary to have this ability to other people, because they're going to think, oh my God, you're so much more than them. And that's scary to them, but you're not more, you're just different. And you're just willing to be aware. What would it take for all of us to choose more awareness and have more ease? If you want or don't.
I'm just going to say it again. For me, it's easier and more relaxing.
Awesome. Okay, well, if anybody would like more ease and more relaxation, and it brings you more money, maybe consider taking the class. So yeah, check out my events page. There's a couple of them coming up. And thank you, Shelli, for popping on so quickly.
You're welcome.
And everybody have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm going to go over to my Expand Your Sparkle group and do an expanding exercise. So join me there.
We'll see you there.
Bye.
Bye.